Welcome back. In this course, we are going to make use of MongoDB Atlas, that is a free cluster on the cloud provided by MongoDB company. So you have to open your browser, click on this mongodb.com, and from here just click on Start Free. After that, you will get a sign up page where you have to provide all your information and then say I agree to terms and policy, or you can also sign up with your Google account. Both will work fine and you don't need to have any credit card here to get started with this. So I have filled up all my details here. This company is an optional field. You can skip that as well. So after filling up your details, you just click on Get Started Free. So after you click Get Started for free, you will get to this particular page. Here you just have to provide the name to your project. You can give any name here. So let me give the name to my project as MongoDB tutorial. And then you have to select your preferred language. So I am selecting Python here and then say continue. So this is an optional page. You can skip that as well. After pressing continue, I am redirected to this particular page where I can create a shared cluster, a dedicated cluster, or a dedicated multi-region cluster. But for this course, I wanted to have a free cluster. So I'm clicking on this create a cluster here, that is free of cost. So let me create here. The next thing that you have to select is which cloud provider and the region you wanted to set up your MongoDB cluster in. So it's perfectly fine to choose any one of the cloud region. That will not make any difference for your learning point of view. So here I am selecting AWS. I am keeping North Virginia as the default region. So the free cluster setup comes with 512 MB of free storage. So just leave this as it is. No need to change anything. In the additional setting, you can change the version of your MongoDB, but I am keeping 4.2 as it is. And then you can also change the name of your cluster, but for now I am keeping cluster 0 as my default name. So in this page you just don't need to change any of the setting and then simply press create cluster here. So my new cluster is getting provisioned and it will take approximately 1 to 3 minutes to get started. My MongoDB cluster is now set up on AWS cloud. I can now connect to this cluster. I can see the metrics of my cluster and I can also see what all collections are there in my cluster. But before doing that, let me click here and load the sample dataset. So MongoDB provides the sample dataset to you to start working with MongoDB. So I'm going to click on this load sample dataset. Here you get a prompt that will say that this data set is approximately 350 MB of storage. So that is fine for now. I can say load sample data set. So my sample data set is getting loaded. So to start working with this cluster, there are a few more important steps that has to be completed. To check that, click on this get started link and you will see all the important steps that are required before connecting to your cluster. So the second step that is required is to create the first database user. So let's go and create our first database user. In this navigation menu, click on this database access. You can create your first database user. So in the right hand side, click on this add new database user. So after clicking on the add new database user, you just have to provide the name to your user. So let me give the name as admin and then I'm also going to give the password as admin123. And then in this drop down, you can select what kind of roles you want to give to your user. So here I am selecting Atlas admin. And then keep everything as it is and just say add user. So your user has been added here. The only thing that is left is whitelist your IP address. So in order to connect to this cluster, you have to whitelist your IP address. So for that, click on this network access. From here, just add IP address. When you click on the add IP address, this screen will appear. Here, click on this add current IP and then say confirm. So once you do that, you are now all set to connect to your cluster. So you just need to go back to your cluster using this link. And once you are here, just click on this connect. So when you click on connect cluster, you will get this screen. So there are 3 ways to connect to your MongoDB cluster. One is using the shell, that is Mongo shell. The second way is if you have some kind of application through which you wanted to access this MongoDB cluster, like you have the Node.js application, you have some Python or Spark application, you can use this particular option. Or there is a MongoDB Compass, that is a GUI that is provided by MongoDB company. So if you wanted to use the MongoDB Compass, then you have to select this option. So we will cover all of that later in this course, but first of all, we are going to connect to this cluster using the Mongo shell, because we will be running all our commands for now in the shell mode. So let me click on the very first option. After clicking here, you have to select your operating system. Like for me, my operating system is Windows, so I'm selecting Windows here, and then I'm clicking on this download Mongo shell. So click on this download Mongo shell button here, and this will download a zip file on your machine. So my download is completed. I have extracted this zip file into this particular folder. So if I go there, I could see the binary that is related to run my Mongo shell. But in order to run the binaries, I have to add this path into my environment variables. So we have to copy paste the path till our bin file, and then have to add this into our system path environment variable. So I'm going there. So for setting the environment variable, go to your PC, do a right click, click on properties, click on the advanced system settings, then go to environment variables, select this path, click on edit, and here you have to add the copy pasted path till your bin file. So say okay, and then close all this button. So once you have set your environment variable, the next thing that you have to do is, so you have to copy paste this connection string and then go to your command prompt and then copy paste this connection string. In the DB name I'm using default, and in the username I'm using admin. Click here. You will be prompted to add your password that you just set. So I'm going to add my password. So it may take 1 to 2 minutes to connect to your cluster. So in the first run, I was not able to connect to my MongoDB because my IP address was not properly set there. So I checked my IP address and then set it again. And this time when I connected, I was able to connect to my MongoDB shell. So here you will see this screen if you are connected to your MongoDB shell. Okay, so if you wanted to check the IP address of your computer, you can just simply use what is my ipaddress.com website that will give you the IP address for your computer. Now we are all ready to dig deeper into our MongoDB now. So stay tuned. Let me see you in the next section where we will start with our MongoDB hands-on.